Hi friends, my name is Emily and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be looking at the books that I read in 2019 and just reflecting on them. I keep a bullet journal, and in that bullet journal I also keep track of my reading. So I have my filled out Harry Potter reread project, which I did accomplish. Go me! I have my Tamora Pierce reread project that I did zero work towards. Next year I'll do better. And then each month I keep track of the books that I read, I give them a star rating and the date that I finished them, and so I thought it would be fun to go through each month and share with you what I read in that month, and then also like what really stands out. So in January 2019, I read 11 books: Small Spaces by Catherine Arden, The Field Guide to the North American Teenager by Ben Felipe, The Art of Asking by Amanda Palmer, Becoming by Michelle Obama, Names for the Sea by Sarah Moss, Conversations on Writing, Ursula K. Le Guin with David Nyman, The Working Mind and Drawing Hand of Oliver Jeffers, Son of a Trickster by Eden Robinson, The Hidden Witch by Molly Knox Ostertag, Trickster Drift by Eden Robinson, and In an Absent Dream by Shannon McGuire. And just looking at this month, so many of these are phenomenal reads. Some of them I totally forgot that I even read this year. Highlights from January that I would still recommend that you check out. The Art of Asking by Amanda Palmer is part biography, part self-help book. If you are at all a creative human, and if you want to monetize your creative efforts in any way, having Amanda Palmer's voice in your head is good. The thing that I struggle the most is feeling like there's any like value to my work to charge money for it. Like, why would people pay for this? And having Amanda Palmer's voice in your head going like, yes, you should support the art that you love. Your art is worthy of support, and like, you can only ask. Like, sure, maybe people don't want to support it. They don't want to fund that. And that's cool, but you'll never know if you don't ask. Highly recommend. Michelle Obama's Becoming, phenomenal. I listened to the audiobook, which I highly recommend because Michelle Obama reads it, and having her voice in your ears telling the story of her life is just an amazing experience that I feel like everyone should have. So, loved Becoming by Michelle Obama, and that is still true now. Like, some of these books have faded, but Becoming by Michelle Obama still so strong in my mind, and I think about it a lot. So in February, I read The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin, Die Mitte der Welt by Andreas Steinhofel, Binti, The Complete Trilogy by Nnedi Okorafor. Die Mitte der Welt is the one that stands out the most, like, as a personal accomplishment, because I actually finished a novel in German. I checked myself, I made sure that I got the gist of the story, that I'd understood it. I did look at the English version. I was proud of myself for that accomplishment. I don't know that I would recommend it to you because the English translation of it is not great. In March, I read 11 books. Heavy Vinyl on Riot the Road by Uzden Vakuvea, Flores, and Nulty. I think this is a graphic novel. I don't even know what that is anymore. I also read A Story About Cancer with a Happy Ending by India Desjardins and Marianne Ferrier, Not Just a Witch by Ava Ibbotson, The Surface Breaks by Louise O'Neill, The Broken Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin, Girl on Girl by Charlotte Jansen, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, On the Come Up by Angie Thomas, The Heart and the Bottle by Oliver Jeffers, Bygone Badass Broads by Mackenzie Lee, and Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Reni Eddo-Lodge. Like, I'm looking at how I reviewed these books, and it was a largely positive month. The things that I think are still worth reading from this list are On the Come Up by Angie Thomas, a phenomenal follow-up to The Hate U Give, and Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. It is specific to like the UK experience of being a person of color within the context of colonialism, but I think if you are in a former British colony, a lot of that baggage and ideology has been baked into the laws of your society anyway, so still an important read. In April, I read 5, 10, 15, 18. Wow. I read Where the Wild Things Are by Marie Sendak, In the Night Kitchen by Marie Sendak, Here We Are by Oliver Jeffers, All My Puny Sorrows by Miriam Taves, Spring Awakening, the play, and I didn't bother to write the folks' names in, The Runaway Bunny by Margaret Weiss Brown, Goodnight Moon by Margaret Weiss Brown, Stevie by John Steptoe, The Boy Stories by Oliver Jeffers, Esiotro by Roald Dahl, White Teeth by Zadie Smith, Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay, The Girl Aquarium by Jen Campbell, Shout by Laurie Halse Anderson, This Moose Belongs to Me by Oliver Jeffers, The English Patient by Michael Ondaatje, A Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabos, and The Embalmer by Anne Renee Kelly. In March, I read By God and Badass Broads by Mackenzie Lee and learned about this badass lesbian in children's publishing in the 1950s who like shaped children's publishing as we see it today. And her name was Ursula Nordstrom, and she published a lot of groundbreaking children's literature. Those included texts by Marie Sendak, Margaret Weiss Brown, John Steptoe. So I read some of these things because I was planning a series, Good Books for Bad Children, which is like Ursula Nordstrom's like tagline. And I wanted to talk about groundbreaking children's literature. It's something that I'm fascinated in, but doesn't perform well on YouTube. I was working on so many other things, and like the lackluster response to Good Books for Bad Children sort of put it on a back burner. And so it's something that I'm quietly working on in the background, and if it's just a personal passion project and like learning about these things is just for me and I never share it with you guys, that's cool. I'm okay with that too, because there are so many things that I'm enjoying that I'm getting engagement back on from YouTube that I put that to the back. But that's why there was so much children's lit here. Something that I think is still like super worth reading, A Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabos. So this is a piece of translated fiction from French to English. I can't remember who the translator is. I didn't write it down because I'm an asshole. I was so excited about like the different magic systems, the settings. That's a snowplow. I'm pretty sure the mic picked that up. Would definitely recommend that you check out A Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabos if you are interested in really interesting YA. In May, I read Insomnia by Stephen King, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, Killer Style by Mcmahon and Matthews David, Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson, East of Eden by John Steinbeck, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone by J.K. Rowling, and Radicalized by Cory Doctorow. So this was not a good reading month. I actually couldn't finish Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson. I made it part of the way in and it was just too much. April, all of the children's lit was spaced out between trauma literature. Like All My Puny Sorrows is about suicide and assisted suicide, and like Spring Awakening is about young people in controlling relationships and suicide. White Teeth is about like racism and family issues. Shout is Laurie Halse Anderson's poetry collection about experiencing a sexual assault and life after. The English Patient is also about trauma, like the trauma of war and being dislocated and isolated, and like just so much trauma in April. And then also a lot of trauma in May, so that when I picked up Speak and I started it, I just wasn't mentally there for it. So I DNF Speak. Didn't love East of Eden. Frankenstein was okay. Insomnia was pretty good. Out of the books that are not Harry Potter, Killer Style by Mcmahon and Matthews David was phenomenal. So it's a children's book about weird fashion and beauty practices throughout history, in which people were just putting like toxins on their bodies, like radium for glowing skin. The art in it is phenomenal. I love the artist. I was wearing one of her t-shirts earlier, but you don't know what I was wearing earlier. Photography in it is great. Like the text is great. If you have a little person in your life who is morbid, like you yourself are a little bit more on like the Addams Family is our jam kind of side of things, they will probably love Killer Style. I cannot recommend it enough. June, I read 8 books. We Contain Multitudes by Sarah Henstra, Everything Leads to You by Nina LaCour, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling, Jack of Hearts and Other Parts by Elsie Rosen, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling, Sugar Rush by Julie Birchhill, and Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix by J.K. Rowling. June was obviously Pride Month, and so I tried to read queer lit and read 4 pieces of queer YA and 4 Harry Potter books. So I honestly don't know what happened in June, but it looks like I had some trouble. Was June terrible at work? I don't know. So much Harry Potter indicates to me that, like, I wasn't doing well. None of this queer lit really stands out to me, and I actually DNF'd one of them. Sugar Rush by Julie Birchhill was so, like, early 2000s British slang that as a Canadian in 2019, I just couldn't get into it. I don't even know if, like, a young person were to pick up Sugar Rush now, if they'd be able to get into it. Like, maybe if you're reading it out of nostalgia, like if you grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, you could get into it. As a Canadian, did nothing for me, couldn't finish it. So I guess in June I can recommend nothing. So then in July I read 9 books: Pulp by Robin Talley, Anthem by Ayn Rand, Wordslut by Amanda Montell, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince by J.K. Rowling, Irma Voth by Miriam Taves, The Hormone Diaries by Hannah Witten, Release by Patrick Ness, Skip by Molly Mendoza, and The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and that was a graphic novel, and again I didn't write down all of the humans involved in that. The standout book from this month is Wordslut. So Amanda Montell is a linguistics scholar. She studies linguistics and she studies the gendered history of words. And if you are at all into feminism, if you are into, like, wordiness, wordcraft, the art and I guess power that word choice has, so good. In August, I read 8 books. The Winterwood by Shay Earnshaw, very appropriate and seasonal title for August. Something Like Gravity by Amber Smith, Again But Better by Christine Riccio. Der Märchen-Erzähler by Antonia Michaelis. Mr. Sandman by Barbara Gowdy. Normal People by Sally Rooney. The Dark Tower Begins, The Gunslinger Born, Volume 1 of the graphic novel series. I didn't write the people down. And then I Am by Maggie O'Farrell. So there were 2 DNFs in this month: Again But Better by Christine Riccio, and Der Märchen-Erzähler by Antonia Michaelis. This is where the German learning really went downhill, because I did have a goal of reading a German book every 2 months. I got so stuck on Der Märchen-Erzähler. It's not a genre that I read in English YA. It's like a mystery thriller sort of vibe that's happening, and I didn't like it in German. And then Again But Better is a self-insert fan fiction, and nobody has time for that. The standout book from this month was I Am by Maggie O'Farrell, which is a memoir about a woman who has survived death, I believe 27 times, and it is absolutely fascinating, absolutely horrifyingly frustrating, the ways in which she struggles with medical care. If you are looking for some nonfiction and you're interested in death and, like, near brushes with death. So in September I read 12 books. I did the Day of Dahl, where I binged Roald Dahl and then made a video reflecting on it, and I have a follow-up coming for that, looking at Matilda and the Witches together and women in those texts. So I read The Magic Finger, The Giraffe and the Pele and Me, The Twits, George's Marvelous Medicine, and The Witches, all by Roald Dahl. Then I read Stone Butch Blues by Leslie Feinberg, I Prefer Girls by Jessie Dumont, The Fate of Fausto by Oliver Jeffers, The Fantastic by Tsvetben Todorov, Fantasy: The Literature of Subversion by Rosemary Jackson, The Institute by Stephen King, and Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs by Caitlin Doughty. Things that stand out from this are The Institute by Stephen King. Probably one of my favorite reads from September. I guess I really liked the supernatural aspects in that text. I liked the more limited cast of characters. Sometimes I struggle with like the multiple POV novels that King writes. If I don't care about enough of the characters, I don't care about the book. I guess looking at kids with these powers that you sort of see Danny have in The Shining, and like just seeing him play with this very familiar thing of The Shining, brought me joy. And I can imagine that the younger that you are when you read it, the more horrifying it will be, because your main window into the story is a child. So if you are closer to childhood, you'll get a kick out of it. If you are, again, that like slightly more morbid parent, like, and you have a kid that's interested in that, and you think they can handle it. Like, my first Stephen King novel was Pet Sematary when I was like maybe 10 or 11. It deeply unsettled me and started this like interest in horror. I think the Institute might be a great place because of the child protagonists. In October, I read 8 books. Matilda by Roald Dahl, Carrie by Stephen King. That was for the Red Rum Book Club and was phenomenal. I read the Grimm Fairy Tales Volume 1, translated by Jack Zipes. I read Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, finishing up my Harry Potter reread. I read Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, Pumpkin Heads by Rainbow Rowell and something Hicks, I don't know her first name. I read The Boy, the Mole, and the Fox and the Horse by Charlie Maxey, and The Midwinter Witch by Molly Knox Ostertag. So the standout from this month, I have to say, is Matilda by Roald Dahl. I never read Matilda as a child. You think I would have, as like a bookish human, somebody would have made me read the book. Like, I'd been exposed to the film, but never the book. And so even as an adult, I really enjoyed Matilda, and then in reading it, my mom was like, hey, I want to read that too, because she really loves the film Matilda. And so she greatly enjoyed it as an adult as well. So if you missed it on Matilda and you're an adult now, it is worth it. Also, if you have a young person who is bookish, would definitely recommend that you check out Matilda too. It's just fun, it's silly, and I liked it. In November, I read 7 books. Sick Kids in Love by Hannah Moskowitz, Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, Strange Weather in Tokyo by Hiromi Kawakami, The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, Radio Silence by Alice Oseman, Salem's Lot by Stephen King, and We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. November, looking back on it, I just released my wrap-up for it, was a great reading month. It was so good. Strange Weather in Tokyo by Hiromi Kawakami, standout novel. Like, the book is like a warm hug if you're interested in Japanese translated fiction. Try it. It's like a May-December romance, and it's cozy and just good. It's good. The Haunting of Hill House, I loved. I am going through the process of commenting on comments for the videos that I haven't caught up on because retail and Christmas is bonkers. And I've just gotten like back in the comments far enough to see people commenting on The Haunting of Hill House. And some people are like, this is a waste of my time. And other people are like, oh my god, Shirley Jackson. And I am in the, oh my god, Shirley Jackson camp. I am so excited to read more of her works. I have The Lottery and Other Stories somewhere lost in transit from the book depository because I love those UK Penguin covers. They are so beautiful, and they're actually cheaper than what I would get them in Canada with my employee discount as an Indigo employee, so why not order the beautiful cover? It's been a month, and over a month. I'm filming this on December 17th. Fingers crossed, it will arrive at some point, and I will experience Shirley Jackson's beautiful, wonderful writing. Salem's Lot was, again, really good. It was a reread for me, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed talking about it with my patrons in a live show. I had a good live show. It was a lot of fun. I'm jazzed about this. Obviously right now, I just revealed that it is December 17th. I have not really read anything in December. That's sort of where I'm sitting. Lots of great reads this year. Lots of things I would recommend. Let me know some of your favorite reads in the comments down below. If you liked what you saw here today and you want to support the channel, I do have a Patreon page. Patreon is a great way to tip your favorite creators for the work that they are doing. In the past year, my patrons helped me purchase a new tripod, which was fantastic. So if you want to support the channel, you want to tip me, join the Patreon family, join the Red Rum Book Club, which is what I was reading all those Stephen King books for. A link for that is in the description box down below. Thank you, patrons, for making these videos possible. It's interesting to see how like the number of books each month and like the type of books each month ebb and flow, and how that corresponded to like other things I was doing and working on. I had fun doing this. I hope you had fun watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye.